Morning everyone. Today I want to talk to you about the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. So, excuse my language, I don't normally swear, but that's the name of the book. So, but anyway, it is Wednesday Wellbeing, where we talk about all things mindset, kind of well-being, which is really, really important, I think, to more so than many entrepreneurs and business owners possibly realise. And this is a book I read probably a couple of years ago now. It's a long time ago, and it was when I was going through a particularly dark time, and it was an enlightening moment. You know, sometimes you get these kind of moments in your journey that are just very poignant, and you kind of look back upon fondly, or an iconic stage of your journey that you can kind of reflect upon. And reading this book was certainly one of them for me. So it's before I go into the detail, it's actually quite a nice day today. It's not too chilly, sunny, not too windy, nice running conditions. But anyway, the book is by an author, I think his name's Mark Manson, I can't remember exactly, but I'm fairly sure that's the name. And this should invariably be a relatively short blog episode today. I'm just going past someone and I'll continue this on. Morning. It's it should be relatively short. And if I summarise the book in a short paragraph, it is about problems predominantly, and which ones to worry about and which ones not to worry about. And sometimes the author in particular, in this instance, as you can probably guess from the name, he delivers his message in a pretty categoric, no-nonsense type of way, and which sometimes, you know, you can listen to all the nice kind of softly spoken authors, and that's great, but sometimes when you just need something hammering home in your mind, someone just needs to say it as directly and as bluntly as required for it to go in. And I think this was what happened with me, because ultimately the kind of aha moment, if you like, was when I understood that every single person in the world just has a constant conveyor belt of problems coming towards them, and there's nobody who's kind of an exception to this rule. Everybody has problems and a conveyor belt of them, and the big difference is they're all relative to that individual. So, you know, there's people out there in the world dying of starvation and poverty, and, you know, obviously that's a major issue for them. And we've got other people in the world who've got so much money that they're worrying about where they can put it to get the highest level of tax efficiency, or you know, making their money work as hard as possible for them. That, I know that's probably a ridiculous comparison, but that might be the biggest problem to that person who's got lots of money, and that's kind of, you know, as opposed to dying of starvation being the biggest problem to that person. And it's all relative to that person. I'm not saying clearly the dying of starvation is significantly far worse than anything to do with money, but to that individual, he perhaps doesn't see it that way, the guy who's got so much money, because he's so caught up in his own bubble. So we're caught up in our own bubbles. All problems are relative to each other, and what you need to understand is this conveyor belt of problems is never ending. It never stops. You're never ever going to get to a stage. People always chase the next goal, the next milestone. They think, oh yeah, it'll be happy days then. I'll sit back and kick back and relax. But you won't, because when you get to that stage, there'll be another whole new number of challenges and problems that will present themselves to you that you weren't experiencing where you are today, but you will experience when you get to that level. So the problems just keep coming. They just change in different shapes and sizes. And the other thing that I took from this book is that, like I say, everybody's getting them, so nobody's an exception to this room. So expect them and be prepared for them. Now that's really, really important. It's easier said than done, because how do you be prepared for problems that are potentially unknown to you at this moment in time? But that kind of puts you into the mindset of expect the unexpected and be prepared. You know, Scout's motto and all that. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. You know, ride the crest of the wave when things are going well, but just be prepared that there's going to be a crash around the corner. And when there is, the person who's more prepared for that is going to get up quicker and get back to the top of the wave than the person who's not prepared for it and gets caught, you know, in the shock factor of coming crashing down. So being prepared is the next point I'm trying to make. In that contingency planning, what I mean here, always have a contingency. And the next take home from the book was the difference between the people that are super successful and the ones that perhaps aren't quite as successful is the ability of how quickly and efficiently you solve these problems. So we've established now that problems are just coming at us constantly, and the more problems you solve, the more successful you'll be, or the more fulfilled, or the more enriched your life will be. So what does that tell us? It tells us we need to perfect the art of problem solving. And then it leads us on to, well, how do we do that? Well, first and foremost, getting out of that kind of entrepreneurial freeze mode where you have so many problems hitting you at one time you don't know which way to look. You need to be able to prioritise. And this is where we link into knowing what to worry about, what not to worry about. If you can't control it, there's not a lot you can do about it. You just have to deal with it. If you can control it, then you can apply your focus on that, because you can make positive changes in that scenario, as opposed to the scenario where you haven't got the control, where whatever happens is going to happen. You just have to deal with it. So that's where the contingency planning comes into play. So I know this is I thought it was going to be a short one. It's a bit long-winded, and I've kind of gone off in all sorts of different directions here. But hopefully you can kind of understand the importance of problem solving in your kind of repertoire of skills, because it is one of the most, you know, people put undervalued skill, yet it's so important and crucial to moving forward. Just running past one of the mums of, here we go. Right, you on today? You can say hello?
Hi there!
So that's Rachel. That's one of the lads I train in the kids football team that I run, and that's one of the mothers. So but anyway, so as I was saying, problem solving is something that people often don't think about as a skill or an art, but in actual fact it's so important. And I've always said that there's not many things you need as an entrepreneur to be successful. Bear in mind, this isn't to brag, but I've come right the way through the education system. I've got A-level business studies, I've got an honours degree in business studies. So I've kind of learnt quite a lot of theory about business, and I only use probably 10% of it in my daily life now, even though I run 6 businesses. But anyway, back to the point. There's only a handful of skills you really need to have a chance at success at being a business owner. And one of them is you need to be able to communicate. Super important. The next one is you need to understand numbers. And the third and final one, and I combine these two together, you need to have common sense and have the ability to solve problems. Problem solving is probably the most important out of those three. Now, they're all incredibly important to the success chance of running a business, but in my opinion, the problem solving possibly just edges ahead of the others, and that says a huge amount. And if I go back to when I read this book for the first time, it was you know, I was going through some real tough times in the business. You know, I'd gone through a business partnership split. We had all sorts of problems with the development that we were running, that we're still dealing with the aftermath now. Completely avoidable issues as well, and I'll go into details on those on a separate episode. But ultimately, my now ex-business partner, morning, my now ex-business partner for 10 years or so, kind of got involved with some unscrupulous behaviour at the detriment of me, and it caused all sorts of chaos, and we nearly lost everything, to put it mildly. And we're still dealing with, like I say, some of the aftermath of it. So it's not gone by any stretch, but it was at kind of that stage that it was really, really challenging in my life. I was kind of contemplating going back into the working world. You know, it got that bad. Not that that's a bad thing for most people, but when you've been in entrepreneurship and running your own businesses since your early 20s and you're kind of now in your mid 30s, taking that step back at that stage, it's not back, but into a different kind of quadrant from business ownership back into employment. Business owners normally see that as a backward step, and we've all got our own opinions on that, but I genuinely considered it. And it's when I read this book that I kind of put things into perspective around what was going on in my life, and focused on the stuff that I controlled, expected the problems, almost embraced the problems. And I think when you kind of understand embracing problems and wanting them to happen, because the more you solve, the more progress you make, you look at things in a very, very different mindset. And again, I've talked a lot about the transition from negative energy to positive energy, and this was a big kind of point in my journey which made me start to focus on that transition a bit more. And it's probably one of the key drivers to why I continued and managed to kind of pull myself out of the rut. So, as I said, this is quite a long-winded. I thought this was only going to be like a 5-minute episode. Well, I've been going a while now and I'm still going, so I'll try and draw this to a close now and summarise. So, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. I think that's his name. Not very good review if I get the author's name wrong, but anyway, it is about problems and understanding that so number one, everybody in the world has a constant conveyor of problems. Number two, every problem is relative to that individual. So some people have life or death problems. Other people have, where am I going to put my money to not pay more tax type problems. So, they're all relative to that individual. Number three, the more efficiently you solve these problems, the more successful you'll become. And number four, don't worry about the problems that you can't control. Just have a contingency plan for them. Worry about the ones you can control and solve those first to avoid overwhelm. So that's kind of my 4-point summary to this book. Hopefully there's some good learning outcomes there that will help people. But this was a really poignant time in my life, and this book was certainly a contributing factor to how I managed to kind of pull myself out of the dark depths of despair. So that's it for me today. As always, if you've got any questions for me, drop me a comment. I'll respond to everyone. If it's a bigger question, I'll still respond, but I'll do a separate vlog episode and I'll tag you in. If this isn't for you or it's irrelevant and it's cluttering up your social feeds, just click the unfollow button. You don't have to unfriend me, just unfollow, and it will stop cluttering up your social feeds with information that you deem to be irrelevant at this moment in time. But do make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Runpreneur, whereby all of the full-length versions of this vlog are catalogued nice and neatly into playlists, so that hopefully at some point in the future you can dab in and out and there'll be something you'll find very useful. Also, make sure you join my Facebook group, Runpreneur, which is where all of the free resources of this vlog will be hosted. So hopefully there's going to be some stuff in there that you'll be able to use and implement in your day-to-day business that will kind of help you get back on that road to success. So that's it from me. As always, the Runpreneur vlog was set up to help entrepreneurs, business owners overcome those emotions of stress, anxiety, overwhelm by using an exercise as a release mechanism to manage, control and thrive under these emotions that every single entrepreneur and business owner experiences. And linking to this topic today, the difference between the ones that succeed and the ones that fail are the ones that control and manage these emotions more effectively. If you don't manage them, they build up and pressure starts building. When pressure starts building, if you don't release it, one of two things happens. The entrepreneur or the business will break. Either or are going to be terminal to the success chances of your business. So I've been there, done that. I've lost businesses because of these emotions, overwhelm, stress, anxiety. It is a horrible, horrible, lonely place. So my pledge to you is, if you're one of these people, you feel you haven't got someone to talk to about this stuff, you're struggling, you need some help, drop me a message. Okay, I had a call with an entrepreneur in that same position yesterday. Just drop me a message. There's no sale, no nothing. It's just, I'll jump on a call with you and I'll try and give you some implementable steps to get you back on your journey to hopefully succeeding and growing your business again, rather than plummeting into the world of business failure, which is not pleasant. So do reach out, and if I can help you, just one business or one entrepreneur out there, then this vlog has been absolutely worth it, 1,000,000%. So that's it for me today, and as always, I'll end with stay positive, stay happy, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.